You probably think humans started talking because we got smarter, but studies show it happened the other way around. Speech didn't come from intelligence, it came from something way more fragile than a big, clever brain. Picture two ancient humans sitting quietly by a fire. No dictionary, no school, no words, just grunts. Just glances and the crackle of burning wood. Then one of them opened their mouth and spoke. They made a sound that meant something specific, a sound the other one actually understood right then. That single moment, thousands of years ago, quietly changed everything about what we are as humans today. So how does silence turn into speech? Let's slow down because we need to define our terms. Language is not the same as noise. A dog barks, a crow caws, a monkey screams loudly. Those are signals. They mean one thing in one single moment. Language, turns out, is different entirely. Language lets you talk about a leopard that isn't there.
A leopard from yesterday, or from tomorrow. A leopard your cousin saw 2 valleys over. That jump, from signal to symbol, remains unexplained still. The time frame is huge. Somewhere between 2 million and 100,000 years ago, our ancestors crossed. They crossed a line no other animal has ever crossed. But here's the frustrating part for scientists. Words do not fossilize. There is no bone that whispers, no stone tablet explaining how speech began. All we have are indirect clues: skull shapes, tools, cave walls, a tiny bone in the throat, and a gene or two that seems to matter far more than it really should. Our lingering puzzle. The first clue hides inside their skulls. You would think a bigger brain automatically means speech. It doesn't. Neanderthals had brains as big as ours, sometimes bigger. They lived alongside our ancestors for thousands of years. They used fire. They buried their dead. They even had the same hyoid bone that helps shape sound. On paper, they had every tool needed to talk. Yet, whatever came from their mouths wasn't enough. Then look at chimpanzees. They share about 98% of our DNA. 98%. They use tools. They recognize themselves in mirrors. They plan. They deceive. They grieve. Turns out, they do almost everything. But in 100 years of study, not a single wild chimp has ever asked another chimp a question. They learn hundreds of signs in labs, but they never invent language. They never gossip about stolen bananas. So anatomy alone can't explain it. Big brain didn't do it. The right throat didn't do it either. Genetic closeness didn't do it. Something social had to click. Some new way we started needing each other. That click may have started around a campfire. Imagine you're an ancient human whose tribe hunts something enormous.
A mammoth. A giant sloth. Something that can crush you flat if you get the angle wrong. You cannot do this alone, not with 3 people. You need 10, 15 bodies moving in perfect sync. Some drive the animal, some flank, some wait with spears at exactly the right rock. Pointing isn't enough. You need to say quietly, you go left, I go right, and when it turns, we strike together. Grunting won't work. You need a plan. And a plan, turns out, needs words to become real. Scientists found that shared attention, the ability of 2 brains to lock onto the same idea, is language's foundation. Not sound, not grammar. Attention. 2 ancient humans looking at the same thing, knowing the other thinks it too. That's where proto-words are born. A sound for that big one over there. A sound for wait and now. Natural selection did the rest. Tribes that coordinated ate more meat. Those tribes had more children who survived winters. They survived droughts and predators that ate their silent neighbors whole. Generation by generation, loud cooperators outlived quiet ones. It wasn't the strongest ape that won, not the smartest either. It was the one who said, "Follow me." But cooperation alone doesn't build grammar. Coordination gets you commands, it doesn't get you poetry or the word yesterday. Something else had to push simple sounds into the weird machinery of human language. And here it gets strange. British anthropologist Robin Dunbar noticed something most people would walk right past. He studied monkeys and apes carefully. They spent a huge chunk of the day grooming each other, picking bugs from fur, scratching each other's backs. It looks like hygiene, but it's really politics. Grooming is how they build alliances between individual apes. It says, I've got you, you've got me, we are together. It's the social glue of primate life. But grooming has a limit. You can only groom one animal at a time, one slow touch. Once a group grows past about 150 members, you run out of hours in the day. Dunbar noticed that human tribes, right around when language really took off, were pushing past that magic number. So the theory goes like this. Language replaced grooming. It became our shortcut for bonding at scale. Instead of picking bugs from one person's hair, you sit by the fire and chat with 5. You could bond with a whole group using only your voice. And what did our ancestors talk about? Probably the same thing we talk about now. Each other. Who slept with whom, who cheated at the hunt. Who owes who a favor. Who cannot be trusted. Gossip, in other words. Ancient, essential human gossip. Gossip gets a bad reputation, but it may be the single most important thing our species ever invented.
Because to gossip, you have to talk about people who are not in the room, people you imagine. You hold their image in your head, describe their actions, judge their motives. That is abstraction itself. That is the symbolic brain waking up. Gossip quietly trained us to think about invisible, unseen things. And gossip led somewhere much stranger. Once you can talk about someone who isn't there, everything shifts. You can talk about an animal you haven't seen yet. You can talk about a spirit in the trees, a god in the sky, a relative who died last winter. Naming things turned into naming the unseen. Around 40 to 70,000 years ago, cave art suddenly explodes across caves all over the world. Handprints on stone, bison, horses, strange half-human figures with animal heads staring back from the ancient dark. That is not a coincidence. Painting a bison on a wall is basically saying a word out loud. It is a symbol. It stands in for the real thing.
Cave art needs the mental machinery for language. And you cannot really have full language without first making that leap into symbols and shared meaning. Around this same time, scientists became very interested in a gene called FOXP2, buried in our DNA. It shows up in almost every animal, but the human version has 2 tiny mutations that make it different. People born with a broken FOXP2 gene struggle badly with speech, with grammar, with putting words together. Researchers traced its timeline and estimated our version became widespread in the last few 100,000 years. It is not the language gene. There really is no single language gene, but it is one small piece. A small edit in the code that made our mouths and brains work together in a new way. And here is a thing that will really mess with your head about all of this stuff. Every human child alive today recreates this leap. By age 3, a toddler moves from grunts to sentences. They start asking why. They start making up stories. They start lying, which is honestly a philosophical achievement. Nobody teaches them grammar. It just unfolds naturally because their brain is quietly wired for it from birth. Every child is a small experiment in becoming human all over again from scratch every single time. Imagine you are the first person to ever say the word tomorrow out loud to another human being. You are pointing at the sun. You are gesturing at where it will be at dawn tomorrow. You are trying to explain a thing that does not exist yet to someone who never heard the concept. and somehow they get it. That single word may have quietly invented the whole idea of time itself, because before you have a word for tomorrow, tomorrow is just a fog. You cannot plan for it. You cannot fear it. You cannot promise anything about it. Language didn't just describe the world, it carved reality. It carved the world into pieces our brains could actually hold. And once you can hold pieces, something happens. Something quieter and honestly a little terrifying. Words gave humans an inner voice. Sit still and listen right now. Listen to your own head. There is someone in there talking to you, narrating, judging, rehearsing tomorrow's meeting, reliving that awkward thing you said in 9th grade. That voice isn't you, it's a specific kind of you. Self-awareness, the sense of being a person, watching yourself be a person, seems to need a narrator inside, and that narrator needs language. Language rewired our memory. We started encoding lives as stories with real lessons. Language rewired our planning. We could rehearse a hunt in our heads before ever leaving the cave at dawn.
Language rewired our sense of future and past, because both of those need words just to exist at all. We became the animal that talks to itself when nobody else is listening. And the planet had no chance. Turns out, our super predator status, dominating every continent and ecosystem, did not come before speech. It came after. First, we learned to coordinate, then to plan, then to teach our children what our grandparents already knew, using words that carried knowledge across generations without losing anything. A single hunter alone is really nothing, but a tribe with shared language is a weapon that lasts for centuries, echoing through every future generation. Mammoths went extinct. Giant sloths went extinct. Cave bears, saber-toothed cats, entire species of humans, all gone. And the small, soft ape with the loud mouth kept going. But there's a cost nobody warned them about. The same wiring that lets you plan a hunt lets you worry about a hunt that will never happen.
The same inner voice that helped your ancestor rehearse a spear throw keeps you awake, replaying a text message. Overthinking is not a modern disease. It's an ancient bug in software designed for survival, not peace of mind. Silence feels unnatural to most people. We feel it with music, with podcasts, with our own muttering. Deep down, silence came before speech, and our ancestors spent a long time learning to escape it. When you cannot stand being alone with your thoughts, that's your inner campfire whispering, a tribe without voices dies. Every argument you have ever had, in some quiet way, echoes an old negotiation around a fire. Around that fire, who gets the meat? Who did the work? Whose plan is better? Whose story gets remembered? We dress it up in modern clothes, but the shape is ancient. You are literally a talking ape. A very good one, a very anxious one, but an ape. One question still nobody has answered. What was the actual first word? Not the first sound. Sounds are cheap. Every animal makes sounds. What was the first noise that carried a specific meaning, understood by two humans and repeated on purpose? Nobody knows. Nobody will ever know. But linguists have made educated guesses more interesting than you might think. It was probably not a greeting. Greetings are a luxury. It was probably a warning, something short, sharp, urgent. A sound for danger, a sound for run, a sound for stop. The kind of scream when a snake drops. Your friend understands it even if they have never heard it before. Language likely began with fear. But some linguists reconstruct roots that go much deeper than most languages. Sounds that survived across many millennia. Sounds like mama show up almost everywhere on Earth in some form. It is not a coincidence. It is the easiest sound a baby's mouth can make, so every culture built a word for mother around it.
Aqua and its many cousins for water echo across language families that split tens of thousands of years ago. The true first word is lost forever. It was said by someone who left no bones we could find, in a place we no longer recognize, to someone whose name has been dust for 100,000 years. But every language spoken on Earth today, from English to Mandarin to a click language in the Kalahari, is a distant echo of that sound. Every hello, every song lyric, every angry text is its cousin. Which makes the next question unavoidable. If speech made us who we are, what will the next leap make us? We are already talking to machines that talk back. We are already outsourcing our memory to glowing screens. Somewhere, right now, some ancient part of your brain, the same part that once whispered, "Wait, listen, over there," is trying to keep up with a world it did not evolve for. That's the strange inheritance we carry. If you learned something new today, hit subscribe.
I make more videos about the strangest parts of human origins. The kind of stuff that makes you look at your own hands differently. Next up, another quiet mystery. Why did our ancestors start burying their dead? What did that first grave actually mean to them? It is stranger than it sounds, and I think you will love where it goes.